So purpose to me is what you are put here to fulfill. Like everything on earth has a purpose. The bees, they pollinate. Each one of us have a different purpose, but whatever we're put here on earth to do in whatever form we're put here in, that's the purpose. So it took me a while to actually find my purpose and to figure out what it was. Once I found my purpose, the way that I protect my purpose is by saying no. No, exclamation point. There is no explanation after, because when you don't know your capacity and you take on other things that are not of your purpose, that's when you start to feel overwhelmed. That's when you start to feel depressed. And that's when you start to feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders and overall overwhelmed consistently. Because when you're not walking in your purpose, you're walking in someone else's. Who's ready for some girl talk?
Welcome to Girl Talk. I'm Nicole D. Miller, author, blogger, speaker, hybrid book publisher, and your host. At Girl Talk, we are a safe space for female leaders to engage in healing and edifying conversation. This is your Me Too, empathetic corner, where we have authentic and transformative dialogue designed to uplift and connect high-achieving women like you. Are you looking for a safe space to cultivate sisterhood with other like-minded female bosses? Leave your cape at the door and join the conversation. Welcome to Girl Talk, the podcast where real conversations spark honest reflections, self-growth, lasting relationships, and inner healing. I'm your host, Nicole D. Miller. Have you ever found yourself lost in the person you love, like your dreams, your identity, your you becomes a shadow of them? If so, you're not alone. In this next episode, Losing Us in Relationships, we do a deep dive into why, as women, so many of us resonate with this phenomenon. And we don't just leave you guys floundering, we will give you tips on reclaiming you. For this discussion, I'm joined by some amazing women who are each qualified for it in their own right. Lisa Evans, Esperanza Gallone, Secret James, Sophia Webb, and Leilani Wells. Together, we'll explore what it means to find and protect your purpose in the midst of love. I'm going to give you guys their short bios, but you can tap in further with connecting with them by viewing their info in the show notes. Lisa Evans is 31 years old and has been a Christian lifestyle blogger for 7 years. She holds her master's in journalism and currently works in marketing at Cleveland State University, while also running her faith-based candle company, Spirit and Truth Candle Co. Lisa's been married for 5 years and has a new daughter. You can follow Lisa on IG at IamLisaEvans_. Secret James is a registered nurse with over 8 years of experience. As a nurse, she's contributed to her community by providing education and care to both the youth and the elderly through programs such as New Era, Legacy Health Services, and Teach Peace CLE. Known for her brand, Naked Secrets, she's been instrumental in promoting mental, physical, and emotional health awareness. Secret holds a Bachelor in Applied Science and certification as a yoga instructor and has a passion for helping her community's youth expand and explore all opportunities afforded to them. You can follow Secret on Instagram at The Secret Carmel Nurse Bay. Esperanza Gallone is a professional licensed counselor with a teacher's heart and, most importantly, a lover of God. She owns Hope is Here Counseling and Consulting Services, LLC in Cincinnati, Ohio. In this private practice, she serves children and adults who are educators, creatives, and people in the helping professions. She's a speaker and trainer on a variety of topics, including faith, finances, race, and mental health. Esperanza is heavily involved in community work, addressing social justice issues and building hope in darkness. You can follow Esperanza's practice on Instagram at Hope Is Here LLC. Sophia Webb, aka Sophie Absolutely, is a multifaceted creative with a special interest in intentional conscious community building, as well as organizing high vibe entertainment, management, and productions. With years of highly effective networking skills, Sophie uses her intuitive gifts to navigate her company, Black Widow Management and Productions, where she helps to support and develop artists looking to influence culture in a more positive way. You can follow her on Instagram at sophie.absolutely. Leilani Wells is a visibility expert and brand manager specializing in social media, video content creation, and getting you seen. She is especially known for her signature program, Get Seen. Leilani has the ability to recognize the magnitude of your gifts and capabilities almost instantly. After identifying her clients' potential, she guides them to it, increasing their confidence and clarity along the way. You can follow Leilani on Instagram at Leilani M. Wells. Each of these women carry wisdom and truths hard fought from their own journeys and will vulnerably share them with you today. In this dialogue, we'll discuss the deep challenges women face in relationships, why it's so easy to lose our identities, how intergenerational patterns play a role, and what makes it uniquely hard but so important for us to stand firm in who we are. We'll also share practical methods for recentering ourselves, the role of support from those around us, and why our unique personalities deserve to shine. This is about more than holding on to yourself. It's about celebrating who you are, unapologetically. So grab your favorite beverage and join us for a raw, empowering conversation. Let's protect our purpose together. Welcome to Girl Talk, Losing Us in Relationships. Some of you guys know we did our first panel discussion in March. It was to kick off or honor Women's History Month. And we just talked about feminism. It was called Are You a Feminist? So that was like a little spicy topic. I feel like that was a little bit more meaty than this will be. I mean, there's going to be a wealth of information shared in this one, but not as like hard hitting. I feel like this will be a little bit more feelings and emotional. Let's support each other and grow. What I'm looking forward to get out of this, I'm hoping there will be greater edification and empowerment for us as women. I don't think you have to be, single to get something out of this. I think it's just us learning and growing in our romantic relationship. So I'm hoping it's beneficial for all. I'm glad you guys touched on the age thing because that was one thing I was excited about is that we do cross several generations. But I think that we all have this in common as women. We're just kind of wired a certain way. And I think this discussion can help us encourage each other, support each other in navigating healthy relationships with our significant others. All right. So I'm about to throw out the first question. We're going to keep the same order and then we'll switch it up during the talk. So we have Sophie Absolutely, then we have Leilani, then we have Esperanza, then Secret, and then Lisa. So here's the first question. Have you ever struggled? And if you guys are not comfortable with answering, just say pass. There's no pressure. Have you ever struggled with pursuing purpose while in a romantic relationship?
Oh, yes. Ah, um, so I definitely have to say yes because I think I've always been pretty clear on knowing that I have purpose, and have a high calling, a high purpose. But within relationships, I've had a lot of different types of relationships, just being honest, shout out to Stephanie on the call. She was a big sis back in the day. So I was calling her for advice, but no, I definitely, love hard and I have very strong emotion. I'm very sensitive. And so sometimes it would feel like even though I was, and it could have been a healthy relationship or a healthy exchange, um, but sometimes it was hard to keep those boundaries or those things that I need to put it in place for like discipline to stay on track with that purpose. I might get caught up in wanting to spend like time that I didn't have, with this particular person. And sometimes being so caught up in wanting to help him pursue his dreams and his purpose, which I do think that to an extent when you're in a relationship, it and maybe not always, but I think that sometimes within relationships, you are called to each other's purpose, even if it's not quite directly within the same thing, but you're there to help be a support, be an encourager. And so I know that as a woman is a part of my purpose for my significant other. But it can be very difficult to keep those boundaries of time. I think time was like the biggest thing because I like I said, I like my chill time, okay? And I love my cuddle time, okay? But really just taking the time to step away and focus and just sit and focus. So I would say that's the biggest thing when I hear the question.
Thank you for your honesty. Leilani?
So yes, I have struggled with this in so many different like ways because everybody's different, right? And I think like there's so many layers to it where it can be a great thing or it can be problematic to be discussing or, even like just doing your business and being a business owner with your partner and just coexisting in that space. If it's something that you guys, for instance, didn't embark upon together. And so there's times that I noticed, and this is something I just came to the realization of even like way after years after the fact, but I noticed that a lot of times it's not that our partner doesn't support us in our business making decisions. It's that as a business owner, and especially as women, we go through these freak out stages when something's coming up in our business. And if we talk to our female business partner friends, they all know that we're going to get through it. We just need to get it out, right? And then like they know what we're capable of. They know that we chose the right vision. It's our vision, just like they chose theirs. And we just need somebody to kind of listen to. And I found that I didn't realize that my partner at home wasn't someone I should be doing that with because their job is our protector. And so if we're not coming in front of our partner saying, I feel fully confident and I'm not saying the words I feel fully confident. I'm saying if they sense that we don't fully believe that it's going to be successful, then innately they're going to know that, well, you don't believe that. So it's not, it's not that they don't believe in us. It's that we don't believe in that moment in ourselves. And so they may perceive it as not just a moment trying to protect us. And then now it's just spiraling from there like, oh, stop doing that, shut it down, go here, go there. And that all could have been avoided, right, in situations like that. And, other aspects, I've had situations where I've had such support, where it's like it was preemptive to my freakouts where it's like, you are amazing, you are this, you are that, you can do it. Don't you see how amazing you are? Don't you see like what you've got going on? So yeah, I think that it can be difficult and great. It just kind of depends on, who you're with and how you're handling the situation and understanding like yourself, who you're with. Should you talk to them or should you be talking to somebody else? Right. So yeah.
That's a really good point. Thank you for sharing, Leilani. Esperanza?
Yes, I would definitely say this has been a challenge for me. When I think about younger me in dating, the challenge was me not knowing my purpose. So the person that I was dating they were supporting me. It was super supportive, but didn't know to support me to do what, to do, go where, and do what. And so because of that, I found it very easy for me to fall into that relationship and be more focused on the guy that I was dating versus on what I was supposed to be doing, because I didn't really know what I was supposed to be doing. And I'm a natural helper. And, Sophie, she kind of mentioned like that contribution, but it was not mutual. Not because of the guy that I was dating, just that I didn't know what I was doing for me. So that has been a big challenge. And I feel like present me, going off a little bit of what Leilani would say, of that protective piece showing up a lot more of, I don't know if that's wise to do. And so a little bit of that conflict in purpose of, the guy that I'm dating now wanting to make sure I'm okay and not always being okay with the risk that I might take and just kind of looking at my overall well being. And I would say the other challenge with purpose, even though it's a good thing, it's been a very hard thing of my partner now being super supportive, but also sometimes seeing me bigger than what I see myself as, and like, oh, you should go do this or go do that. And I'm like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. Like, bump your brakes. Like, that was like future me, like, 10 years from now me. And he's like, well, why couldn't you do that now? Because I'm not ready. So a little bit of pushing me out of my comfort zone, which is extremely uncomfortable. And I find that more of a challenge in present time me versus younger me. Thanks for sharing. Secret?
Yes. So it's definitely to what everyone has honestly said. It does become that issue of you're trying to tell someone what your dreams are and they're trying to push you a little bit harder than what you're ready to. But I don't think it's because they don't know your strengths. I think it's because we don't see our strengths in the light that someone else would see it if they're looking for it. Um, and that's actually one of the things that I kind of went on a journey for myself to figure out is what is your purpose before you even get into a relationship or a marriage or anything of that sort of thing, because it's very hard to figure it out when you are with someone else, especially as a woman who we naturally try to get them to their purpose. We kind of put ourselves on the back burner a lot. And they, being our natural protector, we are also the same exact way. We're their natural protector. It's like when you go and tell your mom, something that your friend did and they never like that friend again. And so it's the same thing with our partners as well. Like they hear us, they see what we want to do, but they don't understand that we don't quite know the steps to get there yet. If that makes sense.
Does. I appreciate that. Lisa?
Yes, I definitely have experienced not focusing, I guess, on my purpose in a relationship, and that's why now that I actually know my purpose in this season, because I think we kind of throw the word purpose around just like very casually in culture. And for those who are believers, we really only have one purpose. Now, how we act out that purpose is through our gifts, our talents, our abilities, all those things. Now that I know my purpose, um, I really try to protect it, even in my marriage, which is something that I have never done before. I've always been susceptible to whatever the guy wants, or because my identity was not in God, it was in a man, or it was in, whatever. It wasn't placed in the right place. It wasn't in the right place. So I was able to be easily swayed by anything or anyone that came around. So I definitely lost my focus and my purpose at the moment. So, for instance, graduating high school, doing well in college my first year. I almost flunked out of high school. I did flunk out of college my freshman year because I was so wrapped up in guys. So I had to refocus and figure out what my purpose was in that season. So my purpose in that season was graduating college. So I focused on graduating college, so I definitely have experience with getting lost and putting my identity in a man when it was never supposed to be that way.
Thank you. You guys shared a lot. I need to really be taking notes during these things. I always feel like that. I feel like you guys touched on being under supported and maybe being overly supported. And I thought those were interesting concepts. I had a few thoughts about that. So I think on the one hand, maybe the person does see your amazing potential, but I know how I operate when I feel like people are trying to give me extra tasks to do when I know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And I can't say that that's specific to a dating relationship, but just in general, in my relationships, I feel like when people are throwing these things like, do this, do that, do that. And I'm like, hold up, I'm supposed to be doing this right now in this season. So I can get very, like Lisa said, protective over my purpose. We keep using that word purpose. So I do think it's important for us to kind of share what that means to us. For me, I definitely feel like I have not started walking in this part of my purpose until Urban Stories came out. Before then, I was moving in one way, which was mostly corporate. And then I did transition into entrepreneurship. So that was a step in that direction. But once Stories for the Urban Soul came out, it was like boots on the ground. Here we go. And it's still unfolding, but there's definitely a fire and a drive in me to pursue that with passion. I will say when I was younger, I totally lost myself. And that's why I wrote How to Overcome Heartbreak because I just didn't know who I was. 18-year-old Nicole didn't know who she was. She didn't even know about a purpose. And so I did wrap myself in that man and in that relationship. And when that ended, I lost myself. All hell broke through. Thankfully, it brought me closer to God. And it's been a step-by-step journey of rebuilding. So what I will say is I definitely feel like I lost myself back then. In my dating relationships as an adult, it hasn't been like that extreme. I will say I think it's been nice when I've had someone that I've dated who gets it, who's in it, who's pursuing passion too. And those have been like the best moments when we're both focused. We're both laser focused on the goal. We can partner together and meet the goal. So that's been amazing, but it's taken years for me to have that experience. So I wanted to throw out a couple of things because I really like that language that Lisa used, protecting her purpose. So I kind of want to change it up and maybe we could start with Lisa since she used the term and then move backwards. So Lisa, then Hope or Esperanza, Leilani, Sophie, absolutely, and then Secret. And I guess the question would be, let's expound on the word purpose. So what does that mean to you? How can you protect your purpose? What are tips and ways that you can protect your purpose or how have you protected your purpose and that's worked for you?
Great question. So as a believer, I'm a Christian. My purpose on earth is to spread the gospel, and my purpose is to make disciples. That's what the Bible says. That's what I believe. Now, how I do that is through my writing. It's through my social media. It's through my candles. It's through my gifts, my teaching, all the gifts that God has given me to express to express the gospel, God's love, all those things to bring people closer to Him. That's why I was created out. I think, that's why I was created as a believer. The other question was how do I protect it? So I think a big key is knowing your identity. You won't know your purpose without knowing your identity. So you have to figure out who you are and then figure out why you're here, your purpose. So I just am now figuring out who I am and becoming very strong in who I am because I have placed my identity in God. So I have allowed His, what He thinks of me, what He feels about me, who He has created me to be, to strengthen me in my identity. So that's how and why I protect my purpose and the things that He has called me to do, because I know that God has given me these things. And so I protect it by staying focused. I protect it by really being obedient to God. So that means what God tells me to do, I do. What man tells me, I have to run it through God. Even my husband, there may be things he wants me to do, or he may want me to do things for him. But if God is not telling me to do those things, and if God is not leading me to do those things, I can't do it, even if it's with my husband. And I believe God is okay with that. So that's how I protect it, really staying in tune with God, listening to God and understanding where He wants me to be and when and where He wants me to be. So yeah, that's how I protect it, basically just by listening to God, reading His word and really understanding His
map, even if I don't see it fully, his path of my life. I know right now he has me, in a mode where I'm on social media and I'm sharing the gospel through social media. I'm sharing, lifestyle and womanhood and all those things through a lens of the gospel on social media. That's one of the ways I express my purposes. And I had to get to a place where I felt unashamed about sharing my story, unashamed about sharing the gospel and about God on social media. So that's one way I protect it, be unafraid to be obedient to what he's telling me to do, if that makes sense. Thank you, Lisa. Um, for me, purpose, to piggyback off of, what Lisa said as a Christian and is being able to love God and know how God wired me to serve people in the earth, how he made me and what he's called me to do that only I can do. I also feel like in, recent years, even recent months, understanding that um, purpose is not as small of a box as I thought it was, of like just one thing on earth that God has called me to do. And so realizing that I might have different purposes in different seasons of my life, or even a purpose that might be lifelong might evolve and how it looks, over time. But yeah, doing those unique things that God made me to do on earth. So that's how I define purpose. Um, in terms of protecting it is being able to talk with my loved ones about it. They have a great support system and they hold me accountable. Um, I can run decisions by them because sometimes there are things of purpose that are very clear that God did not call me to do that. Like, I don't foresee God sending me, back to school to become a doctor. Like, never say never, but I don't feel like that's something I'm called to do. But there's other times when I have purpose decisions to make that look like two really good opportunities. And that's where my support system, that counsel can help me to say, like, no, that's a good opportunity, but that doesn't have anything to do or not going in the direction of what God's called you to do. So I find that like really helpful. Also, I'm coming more and more to realize to protect my purpose is also to protect myself and my health and not run myself ragged, which is a work in progress. But, I can't do the things that God has called me to do if I'm not in good health to do those things. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now in order to better protect my purpose. Thanks, Hope.
So yeah, I feel like a lot of what you shared, Esperanza, about how it can be your purpose can be different things. It's for me, I feel like your purpose can be different things at one time and also at different points in our life. And I think it's like very much tied to our essence and just who we are, like an inner knowingness. And I think that the more that we are tapped into ourselves, that inner knowingness, and to, like you guys share, to God, and whatever we all individually feel is that I know, and that's that. If we are very, very in tune with that and clear about that, and then in addition to that, have rules that we've given ourselves that we've established anytime somebody comes at us with the shoulds. To me, the shoulds are a total red flag. If someone is shoulding all over you, that's a total red flag, because how do you know what I should be doing? Have you lived in my body my whole life with my life experiences, for 43 years? Do you know what I really should be doing? No, that's not something you know. So for someone to not just be presenting ideas based off of how they see me in this moment in time in front of me, then that would be someone I would take in a little bit of what they're saying and then say, does any of this feel like it's me at that point? Do I recognize that? Right. And so for me, as far as what is a purpose, it is something that we know deep down inside and that we only question in certain moments. We always know it though. We always know if you look back in your life, you know how you've helped people, you know what you've done, you might have done it in different ways, but it's all the same thing that you were doing for someone, the same outcome. And so just a big factor in protecting that for me is just standing clear on my boundaries and knowing how I'm going to do that in advance. If someone shoulds on me, I just respectfully listen and I'm polite because maybe they don't realize what they're doing. And I have like this imaginary shield so I don't internalize what they're saying and I'm still able to be nicey, you know, if I need to be. So yeah, that's what I do.
Thank you, Leilani. I love the shoulds. I'm about to be using that.
So purpose to me is, and okay, so just to be very clear, I'm very spiritual, but I'm also very religious based just because I grew up in that type of environment. So purpose to me is what you are put here to fulfill. Like everything on earth has a purpose. The bees, they pollinate, you know, everything on body, everything has a purpose. And I feel like we as people have a purpose as well. And our purpose, you know, each one of us have a different purpose, but whatever we're put here on earth to do in whatever form we're put here in, that's the purpose. So it took me a while to actually find my purpose and to figure out what it was. And I think that once I found my purpose, the way that I protect my purpose is by saying no, no, exclamation point, no, dot, dot, dot. Like just no. There is no explanation after it because when you don't know your capacity and you take on other things that are not of your purpose, that's when you start to feel overwhelmed. That's when you start to feel depressed. And that's when you start to feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. And I can only speak to that because in 29 years, that's what life had been, was just straight sadness, depression, and overall overwhelmed consistently. Because when you're not walking in your purpose, you're walking in someone else's. And it's not going to be a right fit. It's like putting on red bottoms that don't fit. They hurt.
You better go ahead.
So, that's kind of so how I protect it is simply by just saying, you know, I can't do that. I turn down events. I will turn down offers. I will turn down anything. I don't care how much money it is. If it compromises me in any way, shape, or form, I'm not doing it because I've done it for so long already. So now it's just time for me to actually walk in my purpose and experience what that feels like without all the added stress. And I love that shit. So I'm used to that.
Mm-hmm. We all feeling the shoulds from you, Leilani.
Just hashtag Leilani.
Yes, you get all the credit.
Secret, I really, really appreciate what you said because that's kind of the area I was going into. So I do remember someone mentioning how like our purpose is attached to our identity. And so to protect my purpose is like huge to have my alone time. We just keep going back to this alone time. Like I gotta tap in with self, like, you know, because there's a lot. See, and this kind of goes along with what Secret said. Like, sometimes there's a lot of good opportunities. Like, they sound great, you know. Some of them be feeling like that. It kind of feel like that's a semi attached to my purpose. You know, you figure out ways how to make it a part of. But it's like, girl, no, sit down, like, you know. And so I think that's one of the biggest ones is having to slow down. And I have to do a lot. I have to be better at that because a part of my identity, I'm a mover, I'm a goer.
Do you guys resonate with Sophie's last statement? I'm a mover and a goer. I definitely do. I feel like every time I'm in the company of these women, I'm with my people. And I hope you guys feel the same. In our latest episode, Losing Us in Relationships Part 1, we dove deep into the often overlooked yet profound topic of staying true to self while being in a relationship. The conversation was grounded in the importance of identity and purpose, two pillars that can sometimes waver when we give too much of ourselves to our partners. Through heartfelt dialogue and shared insights, we discussed practical tools to protect your purpose, such as the importance of saying no without guilt or explanation, leaning on your support system in moments of uncertainty, and establishing clear, unwavering boundaries. We were encouraged to first find our identity in God and then learn our purpose. Another thing that Esperanza shared was that protecting her purpose is protecting herself. A profound statement that resonated with several of us was when Leilani said to not let others shit on you, which is allowing others to tell you what you should be doing. I agree with her other statement that we all have an inner knowing of our purpose, and it reminded me of Ecclesiastes 3:11, which shares that eternity is written in our hearts. I've shared publicly in my very first book, How to Overcome Heartbreak, Recovering from Misguided Love, where I allude to a relationship that was birthed during a time when I didn't know my identity and purpose. It was so easy to lose myself back then. After that breakup, God led me on a journey of discovering self, one that I'm still on today. My purpose has unfolded and is still unfolding, but one thing that stays constant is that I'm called to be a leader of light in my community. In this conversation, we also touched on being overly supported versus under-supported, and the need to reflect on the type of support we need when it comes to manifesting our purpose. How do we need to be supported? Sometimes it varies depending on what we're facing. Here are a few questions for you to ponder before rejoining our conversation in part 2. What is your purpose? How do you protect your purpose? What are your needs when you're in a relationship? Do you have a history of losing yourself in relationships? And if so, how can you break that pattern? To every woman navigating relationships while striving to honor her identity, this episode is your reminder you are allowed to protect your space, your voice, your purpose. Whether you're a female leader, an entrepreneur, or on a self-development path, our discussion is here to empower you to show up fully without losing sight of you in the process. Stay tuned for part 2 of Losing Us in Relationships as we continue to unravel more strategies to maintain your individuality and thrive. And remember, I attract amazing women doing amazing things. So guess what, sis? That means you're amazing. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. To continue the conversation, join our Girl Talk community by following @GirlTalkCLE on Instagram and Facebook.com/HTOHB, where you can join the Girl Talk Facebook group. You can follow me personally on Instagram @HTOHB, on Facebook.com/HTOHB, and at YouTube.com/@HTOHB. Feel free to reach out via email info@indiemillerpublishing.com. If you're a writer who wants to take the next steps into becoming a published author, you can book a one-on-one consultation at indiemiller.pub. Just let me know you heard about my publishing house through Girl Talk, and I'll give you a 50% discount on our one-on-one. If you'd like weekly inspirational nuggets, you can subscribe to my blog and monthly newsletter at NicoleDmiller.com, where you can learn more about me and my writings.